This week we're in Parshat Bechukotai. In this week's Parsha, it specifically discusses the curses. All the klalot, all the curses that we're giving. By the way, Bechukotai, you always read 2 weeks before Shavuot. And the reason why you read it 2 weeks before Shavuot, you don't want to go into Shavuot from a week before it, so they always separate at least 2 weeks.
Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah, they do the same thing.
That's right, exactly from... the idea of all these curses, a lot of people have the wrong impression. They come from Christianity. They think that God is taking vengeance on the Jewish people. They don't behave well, so he's mad, so he's punishing them. But like we know in Judaism, there's no such thing as vengeance. Linkom. Yeah, it's not the idea of linkom, it's the idea that it is like a process of purifying the Jewish people. This is the process that the Jewish people get purified. Think about it like dirty socks. You put them in the washing machine under heat, they're screaming, don't put me in, don't put me in. He says, it's good for you, you're going to come out, you're going to get clean. It's the same idea. So these things that happen to the Jewish nation is a good thing. It purifies the nation. This discourse, the Rebbe talked in 1970 specifically, when there was a few Russian Jews were able to escape for 1 or 2 years. They were able to escape Russia. So he said this discourse specifically in that occasion. So let's start. When Sarah Imenu, the wife of Abraham, passed away, so Abraham made the eulogy. This eulogy we say every Friday night. The Eshet Chayil that we sing every Friday night, this is Abraham's eulogy about Sarah.
Morning, no?
Yeah, this is what he said during her burial. This is
morning.
Eulogy is the Hesped.
Oh, Hesped.
The Hesped. So let's start. And it says, Sheker achen vehevel hayofi. Charm is false and beauty is futile. So if charm is false and beauty is futile, what are you looking for? Isha yiras Hashem hititalal. A woman who fears God, she should be praised. This is what it says. In Tractate Sanhedrin, it doesn't give us the simple explanation. It says deeper, there's a deeper meaning to all the Eshet Chayil. And he tries to go, and he starts to go over the deeper meaning. So let's look at the deeper meaning in Sanhedrin. It says, Sheker achen, it is, the charm is false, ze doro shel Moshe. This is the generation of Moshe Rabbeinu. Vehevel hayofi, and beauty is futile, ze doro shel Yoshua. This is the generation of Joshua. That's what it says. Davar acher, then it says another thing. Sheker achen ze doro shel Moshe veYoshua. Sheker achen, it is a generation of Moshe and Yoshua. Vehevel hayofi ze doro shel Chizkiah. And beauty is futile is the generation of Chizkiah the king. Chizkiah the king, it was very, very good. People were learning Torah at that time. Irat Hashem ititalal, but then it continues, the fear of God. A woman who has fear of God, she should be praised. Zed doro shel Rabbi Yehuda beRabbi Eli. This is generation of Rabbi Yehuda, the son of Rabbi Eli. Interesting quote, talks nothing to us. So let's continue. What's so special about the generation of Rabbi Yehuda beRabbi Eli? Amru alav al Rabbi Yehuda beRabbi Eli. They told about the generation of Rabbi Yehuda ben Rabbi Eli, שהיו 6 תלמדים מתכסים בטלית אחת ועוסקים בתורה. They were so poor, they couldn't afford even to have a talit, so they would share, six pupils would share 1 talit. So that's the generation. It says that's the generation that should be praised. So let's continue. The Rebbe asks a question. על הכתוב שקר החן והבל היופי, on the verse that charm is false and beauty is futile, Isha yirat Hashem ititalal, only a woman that fears God should be praised. Yeshno diuk. We have to be very specific. שלכאורה, שכיוון שהתורה עצמה אומרת שזהו חן וזהו יופי, says, the Rebbe said, don't understand, the Torah itself says this is charm and this is beautiful. So we're not talking about false things. It means, yes, there's charm over here and there's beauty over there. אם כן, כיצד הוא שזה שקר? So how do you call it שקר? How do you call it falsehood? והבל, how do you call it something which is not important? Beauty and charm are things that are important. How can you say they're not important? That's the first question. Page number 4. ולכן מפרשים חז"ל, says, this is why the sages explained, ששקר החן והבל היופי, this is why they don't like the simple explanation, the Sanhedrin. It says, we cannot say it's a simple explanation. It has to be something more concrete than that. Shalom Aleichem. So it says, ששקר החן והבל היופי מרמז על דורו של משה ודורו של יהושע. It specifically talks about the generation of Moshe and the generation of Moshe, not about a woman. ולדעה נוספת, גם על דורו של חזקיה מלך יהודה. According to another opinion, also the generation of Chizkiah, the king of Judah. ואישה יראת השם, היא תתעלה, and a woman that is fear God, she should be praised. מרמז על דורו של רבי יהודה ברבי אילאי. This hints on the generation of רבי יהודה, the son of Eli. שהיה דור שאמר כנגד גזירות שמד קשות. It was a generation that they had a lot of problems in that generation. והיו מתעטפים 6 אנשים בטלית אחד ולומדים תורה. In order to learn Torah, they couldn't even afford their own talit, so 6 people would share one talit when they learn Torah. ולדעה אחרת, according to another explanation במדרש, in that מדרש, היינו דור של גזירת הפך החיים. This is any generation where our enemies want to kill us. That's what it's talking about. כלומר, which means, לדברי המדרש, according to the מדרש, הנקודה המשותפת לכל הדורות הללו, they have a common point, all this generation, היא ההתמסרות שלהם ללימוד תורה. Is that in all this generation you find that people learn Torah. It's true, in all generations. והחילוקים בכתוב הם אופנים שונים בלימוד התורה. So we're going to have 3 levels of learning Torah. What are the 3 levels of learning Torah? One level is chen. What was chen again? Charm. One level is beauty. And one level is fear. These are the 3 levels. Charm, beauty, and fear. ישנו אופן בלימוד התורה שנקרא בשם חן. There's a manner of learning Torah which is called charm. ישנו אופן בלימוד התורה שנקרא בשם יופי. There's another manner that it's called beauty. וישנו אופן שלישי בלימוד התורה נובע מיראת השם. Then there's another manner that's called fear of God. ועל כך אומר המדרש ששני האופנים הראשונים של לימוד התורה נחשבים כשקר. And the Midrash tells you, you should know. Somebody who learns Torah because of charm or because of beauty, that's a lie. That's a lie. כשקר והבל, it's lie, it's unimportant, it's nothing. והאופן השלישי ראוי לשבח. It's only the 3rd way to learn Torah out of fear. That's the only way, true way to learn Torah. Say it again? Oh, Isha is Knesset Israel. You know that. God is the king, God is the groom, and we are the woman. Yeah, that's a known thing. That's usually the analogy that God gives. We are the bride, he is the groom. ולכאורה אינו מובן. The Rebbe continues to ask the question. איך אפשר לומר על לימוד התורה בדורו של משה ודורו של יהושע שזהו שקר והבל? I don't understand. You want to tell me that in the generation of Moshe Rabbeinu, in the generation of Yehoshua, people were learning and you call that lies? And you call that nonsense? How can you say that? והרי משה קיבל תורה מסיני. Moshe is the one who received Torah from Sinai. וכל דורו נקרא בשם דור דעה. The entire generation called the generation of knowledge. That's what it's called. You want to tell me that they learn Torah in a manner of lies? What lies? והביאור בזה. So to understand what's going on over here. Before we even start, not only you didn't understand, nobody understood yet. Yeah, nobody understood, it's fine. You're not supposed to understand yet. הבנת שלא הבנת?
הוא הבין. לא, הוא אומר שהוא הבין. חושב שהבנת.
You think you do understand?
Yeah.
Okay, good. והביאור בזה, the explanation in this. First of all, we need to understand what's the difference between charm and beauty. חן, so let's understand what חן is. חן הוא עניין שלמעלה מן השכל. Charm is above the brain. Doesn't make sense. And I'll explain what it means. Beauty, I can explain. I can explain a beauty. You know how? Get me a computer. I am going to put an algorithm in the computer. I'll show him faces. And the computer will be able to tell you which face is beautiful, which face is not beautiful.
Beauty you can see, charm you feel.
Oh, we're going to see soon.
And without the computer you can't.
Yeah, I can give you. It's symmetry in the eyes. There's a whole...
There is a whole parameter.
There's a whole parameter for beauty. Now there's, some people like this one, but overall, everybody's going to say, that's beautiful. Maybe it's not my type, but that's beautiful. You can get a specific what beauty is. Beauty is logical.
Okay.
Charm is above logical. Sometimes you can see somebody who's not beautiful. A woman, for example, or a child. But you know what? He has charm. Yeah, he has something. You can't even say what. And why he has and why somebody else, you don't know. This is what charm is. Bidiyuk. So charm is above logic. Charm is above logic. Beauty is logic. Let's continue. חן הוא עניין שלמעלה מן השכל. Charm is something above logic. וההסברה בזה, וכמו חן מקום על יושביו. Just like it says, it's an interesting concept. It says, a place you live in grows on you. You become charmed by it. Other people are going to come to where you live. You say, this is a dump. What are you doing? What kind of town is Tucson? Why are you guys living over here? I don't understand. Come to Los Angeles. Come to California. San Diego. Beautiful.
Vegas.
Over Vegas. Over here. It's a dump. But people who live in a place feel the charm. There's a charm to the place. שאפילו הוא רע. What does it mean? What is a charm? Charm is above logic. Even if it's bad for them to live here, נראה להם טוב. They're convinced that it's good. That's what charm means. שכך הוא בטבע הבריאה. And then it's going to explain the logic, how it happens. This is in nature. אף על פי שאין לו הסברה בשכל, מדוע מקום זה מוצא חן בעיניו, even though he doesn't understand, he cannot explain you why he likes a particular place. ועל דרך זה בנוגע לשאר הדוגמאות שבעניין חן. And we're going to talk about not only these charming things, other charming things. You cannot explain why it's charming. Charming, there's no explanation. מה שאין כן יופי, but it is not so by beauty, יש על זה הסברה בשכל מצד כל פרטי העניינים שישנו ביופי. יופי, beauty, you can explain according to logic. Even a computer can understand it. Charm, a computer will never see. Beauty, I can give you an algorithm, what is beautiful.
אז אלוהים לא רצה שהדור של משה, זה דור שראה, היה במאמר, ראה הכל. אז הם היו כל כך מוקסמים ממה שהם ראו וזה, והם לא למדו תורה בגלל זה.
Very good. Very good.
ואלוהים רוצה
Excellent.
שאתה תלמד תורה בלי לראות, בלי ראיתי עכשיו ניסי.
Very good.
אנחנו פחות אוהבים.
Very good. But it's going to be a little bit deeper, but exactly the point. Very good. ויאמרו אנשי העיר. So let's understand charm first. ויאמרו אנשי העיר אל אלישע. The people of the city said to Elisha. This was a case when Elisha, the prophet, הנה נא מושב העיר טוב. They told him, look, we have a good city over here. כאשר אדוני רואה, like you see, but there's only one small problem with our city. What is it? המים רעים, we've got bad water over here, and because of the water and because of other things, והארץ משקלת, and everybody's dying left and right. He says, we have a beautiful city.
It's good, but no water.
And no water, you can't drink the water, it's bitter, it makes everybody sick, and everybody's dying left and right. ויאמר, so then what does Elisha do? ויאמר, קחו לי צלוחית חדשה, take for me a new bowl, ושימו שם מלח, and put a little bit of salt in it, ויקחו אליו, and they gave it to him. ויצא אל מוצא המים, he went to where the spring of the water comes out, וישלך שם מלח, and he put salt into it, ויאמר, and he said, כה אמר השם, he said, so said God, ריפיתי למים האלה, I heal this water, לא יהיה משם עוד מוות ומשקלת. So anybody who drinks the water now is not going to die anymore. וירפו המים עד היום הזה, כדבר אלישע אשר דיבר. And this water became pure, just like Elisha said, until this day. By the way, I think this is a place called next to Jericho, somewhere. Okay? ויאמרו אנשי העיר אל אלישע. And the people of the city said to Elisha, הנה נא מושב העיר טוב, כאשר אדוני רואה. Look how beautiful the city is, like you are seeing. וכי מאחר דמים רעים וארץ משקלת. It says, how can they say the city is good? The water is bad, everybody is dying, left and right. אלא מה טובתה? So he says, how is it good? That's the question. The Gamora says, what good do you find in the city if everybody is dying and the water is bad? How can it be good? Amar Rabbi Chanin. Rabbi Chanin said, by the way, look at his name. Chen. Look at his name. Amar Rabbi Chanin. Rabbi Chanin says, you want an explanation? You can't get an explanation. There's no explanation for that. Chen makom al yoshvav. This is what charm is. Charm is without explanation. A person who lives in a specific place, the place grows on him. It becomes charmed by it. That's what it is. It says people who live in a place, the place charms them. That's what it is. And now look, there's going to be 3 things that a person gets charmed by. Interesting. This is psychological. It works every time. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan said 3 things you're going to be charmed by. Shlosha chinoten. There are 3 times the person gets charmed. What are the 3 things? Chen makom al yoshvav. The first one, the place you live in is going to give you charm. You're going to like it. Chen isha al ba'ala. Second one, a woman grows on her husband. He finds her charming no matter what. After a while, you know, he has. I like this kind of beauty. I like this kind of thing. From now on, she grows. A woman grows on the man. And one more thing, chen mikach al mikacho. This is what they tell you all the time in the stock market. Don't buy the stock. What does it mean? Don't get attached to the stock. But when you have a business, I don't care if it's a good business, if it's a bad business. Once it's your business, it's charming to you. And somebody else's business, you're going to see next door. He makes more money, he makes more. He says, let's exchange businesses. You tell him no. So he says, why? You can see I'm making more money than you. He says, no, but this is my business, it's more charming to me. We're going to get to sheker soon. Why is the sheker soon? We're going to get to that. Yes?
If you're going to come to me and say, listen, this business is better, make more money, and as business people, they say, give me, let's switch. Your theory is not right there.
No, I'll give you an example where you can see this. You can see it, even salesmen even use it. You know where they use it? When you go to buy a car, they give you the keys, right? And they tell you, go drive it, and then you come back, and it says, how was this car? And then you drove that specific car, and then they have another car. This car has 20 miles, and the other cars have 15 miles. And they will ask you, which car would you want to take? The 20-mile one or the 15-mile one? People would want to take the car they drove. It's because something gets attached to the person. The same thing with business. If you started a business, a person who started a business, or a deal, if somebody goes to the shop and you picked up an apple, right? After you picked it up, already it's in your hand, it becomes charming to you. And this apple will... here in psychology. This is the psychology. Samir, if a person holds it in his hand, it has some charm over him.
It's already his.
Yeah. And you're right that psychologically it doesn't make sense. And he tells you also.
No,
and this
I didn't think it worked in business. I know it worked in... For example, if somebody come and tell you,
I'll give you...
You want to buy... And
I'll give you an example.
With this merchandise, it doesn't matter how much.
I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example in your business.
That's what I was.
I'll give you an example in your business. You know, which one is the first backmasters?
Huh?
Which one is your first backmasters?
Graham Cologne.
If you have to sell one, would you sell this one or would you sell another one that makes more money?
I don't care.
No. But you did care. Forget, now you don't, let's say you don't care. The first one has like...
This is the wrong behavior.
That's
when
right.
a businessman get attached.
That's right. That's what charm is. Charm is the wrong behavior. Very good. It's not logical.
That's why for me it's hard to understand.
Yeah, that's why it says it's not logical. That's what exactly it says. That's right. He does, but even he sees that he does. Yeah. Okay, so let's continue, guys. We are on page 7. יש אופן בלימוד התורה שהוא מצד עניין החן. Sometimes a person learns Torah has not, the reason why he's learning Torah is not logical. It's because of חן. וזה אופן הלימוד התורה שהיה בדורו של משה. This is the way they learn Torah in the generation of משה. באופן נפלא ביותר. It was miraculous. מתוך חיות ולהט רב והצלחה גדולה. It says, why did they learn Torah? It was חן, it was charming. It was... כאמור שלא ניתנה תורה לא לאוכלי המן. It was the most miraculous win. It was above logic. It was everything. It was the most charming thing to learn Torah.
How you cannot?
How can you not learn Torah? אבל אף על פי כן, it's called שקר החן. It's called the lie. Why is it called the lie? זה דורו של משה. This is generation of משה. שזהו שקר. It is a lie. What's the lie part?
חן.
בגלל היותו עניין שלכם. Because it's
חן equal שקר?
You see that? You said yourself. That's right, because חן is שקר. Why? Because חן tells you, even you have a better business, don't exchange it. This one is more charming. This one is more charming. Even if the better business, even a better car. I want the car that I drove, not the better car. That's what חן does. But we're going to go deeper into that. לימוד התורה הוא בגלל החן. When a person learns Torah because of charm, שבדבר חן בעיני השם, when it is just charming in the eyes of God, ולכן מצאתי חן בעיניך, and this is what I found charming in your eyes, באופן שלמעלה מן השכל. He learns Torah in a manner which is not logical. It's above logic. וההסברה לגמרי, completely above logic, ואדרבה. במצב כזה, אילו לא ילמוד תורה, יש דבר פלא. It's like Moshe says, if you don't learn Torah, when you're charmed, something is wrong with you. Of course, when a person is charmed, he's learning Torah. אבל, so what's the problem? You know what's the problem? What? The problem, אצלם לא הייתה פעולת האדם באופן שחודרת את כל מציאותו. They did it just because of charm. It wasn't part of themselves. It wasn't in their blood. It wasn't in their anything. That's the way it was. That's the way it was. They did it out of charm, not because it was them. The charm caused it. They did not cause it. I'll give you an example. There's two students. One student, he's got a very, how do you call it? A rabbi who's very charismatic. He's got a very charismatic rabbi. And when you come next to this rabbi, you have to learn Torah. He's so charismatic that you learn Torah. And he's next to his rabbi for 40 years. So he's learning Torah for 40 years. You think he's got something. The truth is that one day the rabbi doesn't show up and the rabbi comes to learn. He's not even going to open the book. You know why he was learning all these years? It's the charm of the rabbi that caused him to learn. He was never a learner. He never learned. It wasn't his learning. Who made him learn? The rabbi made him learn. He says, this is generation of Moshe. Generation of Moshe. It wasn't them learning. It was God causing them to learn. That's why it's sheker. That's why it happened to be that it lasted. They died. But it doesn't matter. It was still sheker. In other words, it didn't become, they didn't turn into learners. That's right. That's right.
איך אתה מיישב עמהם אתה קורא להם בני אדם, אנחנו חמורים, And if they are angels, we are human beings.
This is a level, this is the way they learn Torah. Something else.
It's not the cause of why they
No,
learn.
no. And we're going to see in the end, we're going to also answer that question.
Because they were on a high level.
We're also going to, in the end, answer your question also.
בגלל שהשם שם אותם שם.
So,
Okay,
so this is Chen. So let's look at what is Emet first. Ita Yerushalmi, it's brought down, we are on page 8, in the Yerushalmi Talmud, שאות א' היא התחלת האותיות. א' is the beginning letter, אות מ', מ' is the middle letter, ואות ת' היא הסוף האותיות, and ת' is the last letter. So the word emet, truth, means first, middle, and last. By the way, the word emet, if you this is not our thing over here, the word emet, the distance between the letters are the furthest away. Aleph, then mem, then taf are the furthest away you can have 3 letters. The word sheker are right next to each other. And sheker is not in the right order either. Emet is in the right order and sheker is in the wrong order. שבזה מרומז העניין, in this it hints, דאני ראשון, אני אחרון, ומבלעדיי אין אלוקים. It says, I am first, I am last, and without me there's no God. שבכל מקום יש רק דבר אחד, חותמו של הקדוש ברוך הוא אמת. That you need continuous from the beginning until the end to prove that God is there. ובנוגע לענייננו, when it comes to our matter, כיצד אפשר לדעת ולהיות בטוח שעניין התורה נעשה אצל אדם אמת? How do you know that the way you're learning Torah is a truthful manner? כשרואים שזה אצלו באופן דאני ראשון ואני אחרון. It's only when you see that he does it with all of himself. With his legs, with his heart, with his head. His entire being is learning Torah. היינו שהן הראש, when the head, הן הלב, when the emotions, and whether the legs and the actions, הם מציאות של תורה. They all become Torah. ויעסוק בתורה לא רק בזמן שלווה. And he's going to learn Torah not only when it's good, when God gives him everything. אלא באיזה מעמד ומצב שיהיה. He's going to learn Torah in under any conditions. It doesn't matter where you put that person, he's a learner. He's going to learn. הן אם יעמוד במעמד ומצב טוב ביותר, הן אם יעמוד בתחתית ושלוט המצב, whether you put him, you give him all the best. Some people you give him all the best, that's when they're going to kick God. Some people you take everything away from them, that's when they kick God. A true person, you know, when you have the truth, when you don't keep God, you don't kick God out of your life when you have everything, and you don't kick God out of your life when you have nothing. That's a true person. ועניין זה אי אפשר לדעת בדורו של משה. And it says, it doesn't matter who you looked in that generation, you would never be able to know who has the Torah. In the generation of Moshe, people, you couldn't look at a person and say, you know what, he learned Torah the right way. Because no one learned Torah the right way in that generation. They all learned Torah because God and Moshe were so inspiring. That's why they learned Torah. There was nothing else to do. They were forced into it. Imagine you have a wizard next to you, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Of course you learn Torah. The wizard is learning Torah, not you.
It's like they were standing in line to talk to Moshe about dispute.
Very
they
good.
didn't have to talk, stand in line and they go.
Exactly the same way.
Inspiration already.
Yeah.
So
כשלימוד...
in a way to doing it without their free choice.
Exactly. They didn't have really free choice. כשלימוד התורה היה מצד עניין החן, when they learned Torah out of charm, שאז אין צורך בכפייה, you didn't need to force them. כיוון שהראש שלו מנהיג את כל הגוף כולו, מרגיש שמוכרחים לעשות בתורה בלעד ולהיות מצווה של תורה. They didn't have a choice, they were forced into it. ובכן, על מעמד ומצב כזה, אי אפשר לומר תתעלל. So what are you going to praise that guy? There's any praise? It says only יראת השם. Isha yirat Hashem, a woman who has fear of God, it halal. Over here you can't praise him. You know why he's doing it? He's forced to it. He doesn't have free choice. He has the wizard next to him. He has the spirituality next to him. He's forced into it. ואי אפשר אפילו לומר שזהו עניין של אמת. You can't even know, you can't even say he has the truth. You can't even say that he has the truth. What do you mean? The truth means שיהיה תמיד, that it will always exist. I don't know if it will always exist. I know it exists when Moshe is here. And by the way, Moshe went up to the mountain for 40 days. We all saw what happened. Yeah? So we saw it.
Now we understand why. Why?
אין להם מדרגה משלהם.
That's right, it's all Moshe. Everything was Moshe, without Moshe. And that's what they were screaming. I am Moshe Aish. Where is Moshe the man? Without him we are nothing. We can't do. Give us something else instead of him. שהרי עדיין לא בחנו וניסו אותו. They were not, nobody actually came and tested them. ובמילא לא יודעים איך תהיה התנהגתו. Nobody knows how they're going to behave. כשישתנה המעמד ומצב, עניין זה ישנו בכוח, אבל בגלוי לא ראו זאת עדיין, כדי שעדיין לא הייתה שלוכח. The truth is that some of them learned for the right reasons. But it wasn't revealed. Even to them. Even to them it wasn't revealed that they're learning for the right reasons. Let's continue. ועל דרך זה בנוגע לדורו של יהושע. This was a generation of Moshe. What about the generation of Yeshua? It says, הבל היופי זה דורו של יהושע. Beauty is futile. This is the generation of Yeshua. Where do we see this? בדורו של יהושע, כשנכנסו לארץ, לא הייתה אלוקות בגלוי. Now, there wasn't godliness revealed. They didn't see the plagues. They didn't see the splitting of the Red Sea. They didn't see God on Mount Sinai.
They didn't eat the man.
They didn't eat the manna. There was not, you couldn't see godliness.
But they were still close to that generation.
Oh, we're going to see what he did have. כמו בזמן שהוא במדבר, just like in the time of the desert. שאז היו אוכלי המן, in the time of the desert, they ate manna. והיו להם מים מבארה של מרים, they drank the water of Miriam. וענני הכבוד, the clouds of glory protected them, and took care of them. שבזה ראו בגלוי את הקשר עם הקדוש ברוך הוא. So in other words, in the desert, they saw God. In other words, every person who woke up in the morning in the desert saw God throughout the day. In the morning, God gave him food with a spoon. God gave him spoon.
Don't forget, if the manna would go far away, he knows that he's not in good condition
Yeah.
with Hashem.
And
If it would be in front of his tent,
Absolutely.
he's a tzaddik.
Absolutely. And the idea is that he saw God every day with the spoon, giving him. Every day he saw God. ולכן אי אפשר לומר שראו אז עניין של חן. So in generation of Yeshua, they didn't see that. They didn't see the level of charm, above logic. הנהגה של למעלה מן השכל. They didn't see a level above godliness, above brain. בדוגמת חן מקום השם. They weren't charmed by God. They were not charmed. שהרי מיד בכניסתם לארץ פסק המן. Immediately when they went into the land of Israel, there was no more manna. וישבות המן באכלם עבור הארץ. בשביל לראות אלוקות היו צריכים להתקרב. But they could still see God. How could they see God? They could see God through doing what God said. If they did what God said and they worked hard at it, they were able to see God.
See the fruit of it.
To see God. We'll see soon.
כאילו את התוצאות.
Yeah. For example, think about Yericho. God told them, you're going to tell, it's not like God did everything Yericho. You're going to go, and you're going to blow the shofar, and you're going to go around. And after you see this, you see, oh, a miracle happened. It happened. In other words, they see godliness, but they had to do it.
Yeah, they were.
It wasn't forced on them. אבל לאידך, כאשר התבוננו, when they did look at nature, when they looked at the way God is in the world, ראו אלוקות. כאשר התבוננו ראו שמשך כל ימי יהושע וכל ימי הזקנים אשר חיו ימי יהושע, שאז עמד מצב דאבות ישראל ודבר, אז הייתה הברכה מצויה. They saw that when you do what God said, you get rewarded. Simple. It says in the Shema, you serve God the right way, God is going to give you the right thing. Very good. You said to God less right way, God's going to give you less right thing. You could see it. In the door of Yeshua, it happened exactly like it says in the Shema. The better a person was, the more rich he was. It was simple. You can see it every day. You can see it. Nobody got confused. That's right. Reward and punishment was according to what you did, and you weren't confused. Not like today, where somebody can work hard, crazy, and get nothing, and somebody work nothing and get everything. It didn't work. Yeah, it didn't work like today. ראו במוחש, they saw שכאשר לומדים תורה ושומעים לקדוש ברוך הוא, they saw when you learn Torah, listen to God, אזי נופלות חומות יריחו, then God brings down יריחו. אמנם היה צורך שהחלוץ יעוף נערו, it's true they had to do something themselves, אבל נפילת החומה הייתה ידי שהקיפו את החומה עם ארון ותקעו בשופר, but it went down in a miraculous manner. והדרך זה בכיבוש כל הארץ כולה, and not only יריחו, the entire land was conquered this way. In the times they listened to God, they conquered. The time they listened to God, they lost. It was obvious to them, they could see it.
דקה. אז מה שונה בעצם היום? זאת אומרת...
Today, there's no guarantee if you're going to do the right thing, you're going to get good.
Why not? It says, יש לנו...
But it doesn't. It doesn't work today.
You don't see it in reality.
You don't see it. It doesn't work. The question is today that the question of today that everybody is asking, how come tzaddik ורע לו ורשע וטוב לו? It's a question everybody asks. How come a righteous person is got bad life and an evil person has a good life?
אז איך יש לי הבטחה אם מבטיח...
Good question. Good question, but that's not the issue of the zeo. Maybe we'll deal with it in the end. Remind me in the end. Okay? ובכל ההנהגה במשך 7 שכבשו ו7 שחלקו in the entire 14 years, וכן לאחרי זה עד סוף ימי יהושע, and then 14 years later even, until the days of Yeshua and the elders that were after him, נמצא שאף בדורו של יהושע לא עניין של חן. So even though in the generation of Yeshua they weren't charmed, היה עדיין עניין של יופי. It was beautiful. You could see God. You did the right thing, you got rewarded. You did the bad thing, you got punished. It was beautiful. You can see the beauty in life. Yeah? It worked. It worked beautifully. But we're going to see ישנו לימוד התורה שלא מצד חן ולא מצד יופי. In other words, in the generation of Moshe, they learned Torah because they were charmed. In the generation of Yoshua, they learned Torah because it was beautiful. You did the right thing, you got the right reward, beauty. But there's another level of learning Torah. Not because of charm and not because of beauty. What's the other level? אלא מצד יראת השם. יראת השם. Isha, Irat Hashem, a woman, we are the woman, the Jewish nation is the woman, a woman who fears God, she is the only one who should be praised. Not people who learn Torah out of charm, not people who learn Torah out of beauty, only people who learn Torah out of fear of God. ועל זה נאמר אישה יראת השם. On this it says a woman who fears God. שאין לה לא חן. She doesn't have the charm. She's not learning Torah because of charm. ולא יופי, she doesn't learn Torah because of beauty. ועל פי פירוש חז"ל, זה דורו של רבי יהודה ברבי אילאי. This is generation of רבי יהודה, the son of Eli. דורו של שמד, it's a generation where the enemies, the Romans were killing us left and right. שהיו 6 תלמידים מתכנסים בטלית אחת ועוסקים בתורה. In that generation, 6 students came in one talis to learn Torah. You're going to ask this person, why are you learning Torah?
He's going to say because God said so.
Oh, is it because it's charming? It's charming?
No.
Is it beautiful? No. The more you learn, exactly. Look what happened to Rabbi Akiva. Look at what happened to Rabbi. You learn Torah and look what happened. Rabbi Akiva.
Yeah.
It's not Torah. It's not beautiful. There's no charm, no beauty. So why are you learning Torah? Oh. אין לו הסברה לזכות בלימוד התורה. He doesn't have an explanation why he's learning Torah. הוא לא רואה אלוקות רחמנא ליצלן. He doesn't see any godliness. אבותינו סיפרו לנו. He knows that our forefathers told us that once upon a time there was a time when you did the right thing you got rewarded. Today you do the right thing you get killed. אבל אותותינו לא ראינו, but we never saw it. We just heard stories from the forefathers that this is the way it should be. So let's look at source number 5, page 11. This is from the Mechilta of Rabbi Ishmael. So it says like this, Rabbi Natan says, לאוהבי ולשומרי מצוותיי, to those who love me, to those who guard my Torahs. אלו ישראל שהם יושבים בארץ ישראל. These are the Jews that under the Romans they sit in the land of Israel, ונותנים נפשם על המצוות, and they give their souls for the commandments. מה לך יוצא להרג? It says, why are you putting to death? You ask the guy, says, why are you putting to death? They're going to kill you? Why are the Romans killing you? And he answers, על שמלתי את בני. You know why they're killing me? I circumcised my son. מה לך יוצא לשרף? It says, why are you getting burnt? So he says, על שקראתי בתורה. I read Torah. This is the reward, you see the reward. מה לך יוצא לצלב? It says, why are they crucifying you? על שאכלתי מצה. Because I ate matzah. That's why they're crucifying me. מה לך לוקה 100 פרגל? Why are you getting 100 lashes? על שנטלתי את הלולב. Because I picked up a lulav. ואומר, אשר הוכיתי בית מאהבי. מכות אלו גרמו לי לאהב לאבי שבשמיים. It says, these lashes caused me to love God. It says, the lashes that the Romans gave me, that's why I love God. So the Rebbe now is going to explain this. It says, this is not something that just happened in the generation of Rabbi Yoshua, of Moshe, of Yeshua, or Rabbi Eli. It's actually happened in our generation. So the Rebbe actually says it happened in communist Russia at 1970 when he was saying this. So he says like this. הוא נולד במדינה פולנית. It says he was born in a Polish land שבה גדל אביו, that his father grew up, במעמד ומצב שמעולם לא ראה חיים של תורה בגלוי. It says people don't understand what was Russia. In Russia you couldn't do anything that has to do with Judaism. You would be killed. You would be killed. My father-in-law did not speak when he went somewhere. He was going to Romania to discuss something. I'll give you an example. He went to Romania to meet someone to give a letter for that someone to give to his sister who was living in Israel. He didn't tell his wife. Do you know why?
So badly.
Because there was a rule. You don't talk. You talk in Russia. That's it. It's over. It's over. You don't talk. You don't do nothing.
In the 70s?
Of course. I'll give you an example. My father-in-law, do you know how he circumcised his son? So I'll give it to you. You're not right. If in school, the son would go to school and the friend would find out that he's circumcised, and he's going to go to the bathroom together with them. They're going to find out that he's circumcised. The whole family loses their job. Everybody gets kicked out of their jobs and put in prison. Whoever the guy if he knew that the son was circumcised, he goes to jail. That's how bad it was. Nevertheless, he went to shul, and you know that the rabbi in the shul over there at that time was a KGB. So you couldn't talk to the rabbi was KGB. The KGB put him there. He was the rabbi of the shul. You couldn't talk to nobody. But he knew that there's a guy in the back of the shul, Chassid, came up to him and he says, I need you for something. They went up to the back, he explained to him what they need, and that guy had to trust him. You have to remember, because he could be KGB also agent. And thousands of Hasidim were killed in jail because of that. Thousands. Yeah? To an extent, I'll give you an example. There were some people who put on tefillin every day in Russia. Every day. Their kids never knew. Because if the kids know, he might talk somewhere and he can't find it. Thousands of people put on tefillin. Even the kids didn't know. So this is what son. מעולם לא ראה עניין של תורה ומצוות שלא יהיו קשור עם רדיפות. They never saw Torah and mitzvahs without somebody running after you. ואין שום מוצא. It says there's no way to escape it. שום חשבון בדרך הטבע, not according to nature, שיוכלו פעם להיגאל ממצב זה שנמשך כבר כמה וכמה שנים, יותר מ-50 שנה. It was more than 50 years.
למה הם חיים? אז למה לא עזבו?
They can't. They're not allowed to live. That was the whole idea. When they get the chance, they did.
And they did in the 80s.
Yeah. יובל שנים, שנקרא בשם עולם, כך שעל פי חשבון דקדושה, according to logic, לא היה שום מוצא שיוכלו להיגאל ממצב זה. I heard the story. The Hasidim that remained over there, they said, we believed in Mashiach more than we believed we were ever going to go out of Russia. It makes more sense that Mashiach will come now than we will ever live here. That's how bad it was.
And Rabbi, you're talking about your father-in-law that is not a chassid.
No, he's not a chassid at all.
Not a religionist.
Not religious at all.
But he had to do this breed and מתחייב בנפשו.
Yeah, he's not religious at all. I mean, he's religious too. You can see. What do you mean not religious at all? He's more religious than me. Not religious at all, more religious than me. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, imagine you were not allowed to have wine. You were not allowed to have wine in Russia at the time. Kosher wine was illegal. So in order for the bris, they used vodka. They used vodka for the baby, for the bris.
Wow.
Until here. איך מה? ואף על פי כן, it says, nevertheless, כשבא לפועל והוצרכו לשמור שבת ביום טוב, but when they need to keep Shabbos in יום טוב, והייתה רק טלית אחת אישה נשים, just like the example that we give, there was one talis for 6, לא הייתה מניעה בכך, they didn't stop. 6 היו מתעטפים בטלית אחת אבל עוסקים בתורה. Nevertheless, they put on the talis, they did Torah. כששואלים אותו, and when you ask the kid, 16, 17 years old, מה הסיבה שאתה לומד תורה? It says, why are you learning Torah? האם אתה רואה בזה חן? You find it charming? It says, it's for sure wasn't charming. מוכרח לומר את האמת. You know, charming is when you have a rabbi that knows what he's talking about. Over here, in Russia, what happened? All the rabbis that knew what they were talking about taught Torah, and they were sent to jail or killed. So who was teaching?
KGB, the shuls.
Not the KGB. They were teaching one kid that learned a little bit from over here, another kid that learned a little bit over there. The rabbis, what did they do? They took a kid, they taught him one thing. They taught another kid, they taught him another thing. And they told the kids, after I'm gone, because they know they're going to be gone, you teach that guy that, and you teach that. So they were kids teaching kids, not understanding anything, not knowing anything. There was no charm in it, not beauty in it. They didn't even understand the right way. So did they enjoy learning? No. There was no enjoyment. They didn't appreciate the learning. Nothing. But nevertheless they did it. הוא לא רואה, אותותינו לא ראינו. They didn't see anything. And when he did the right thing, you know what he saw? בצאתו לרחוב רואה אויב ומתנקם. When he went out of the street, he saw only the enemies. בהיכנסו לביתו צריך להיזהר שם המאזינים מעבר לקיר ומעבר לחלון. When he went into home, he has to be careful from his own family. Maybe somebody is listening, he cannot say the words of Torah out loud. ועד שצריך להיזהר גם מאלו שחיים עמו תחת קורת גג אחד. He needs to be careful from his wife, from his grandmother, from his son. Maybe his son is going to go to school and say something. He saw something and it's over. שהרי ייתכן שלמחרת, it says not because he will want to. They will grab him, they will torture him, and then he will say something. שהרי ייתכן שלמחרת יהיה במעמד ומצב דנגדהו, יענו אותו. In the next day, they're going to torture the kid. ומי יודע אם יוכל לעמוד בניסיון? Who knows if he's not going to spill the beans? וכדברי הגמרא, just like the Gamora says an interesting thing about Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah that were thrown into the furnace. It says about Hananiah, Mishael, and אלמלא נגדוע, הגמרא אומרת שיהיה כן יודעת מה. It says, who knows? It says that they were willing to die for God. But if they would have been tortured, they would have served idols. That's what the Gamora said. It's easy to die for God. It's easy. And it's easy to do one-time act for one time and do it. But if you have to live like this for 20 years under torture, it says they would. The Gamora says on them, on these prophets, they wouldn't have passed the test. Where do we see this? Amar Rav said, this is Masechet Ketubot, Ilmale ilu haya makim, if they would have tortured Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah, the three prophets, כדי שיעבדו עבודה זרה, in order that they would serve idols, ולא היו משליכים אותם לכבשן האש, and they wouldn't throw them into the furnace, היו עובדים לצלם. They would have been idol worshippers.
They didn't beat them up?
If they would have tortured them, they wouldn't have they passed the torture.
They wouldn't go into the fire, they would do avodah zarah?
Not they would go into the fire. To go into the fire is easy. It's an easy way out. It's a one-time deed. to live under torture for 20 years, they wouldn't have done it.
I see.
Torture is the worst. It's worse than dying. A lot of people, that's why you give spies the pills to take, because it's worse than. In other words, look at these people. Who are these people? Hu lo ro'eh lo chen velo yofi. These people who learn Torah, they don't see charm, they don't see beauty. Hu lo ro'eh sachar ba'olam hazeh, they don't see reward in this world. And also, he doesn't see the reward in the world to come. They ask him, you learn Torah? He says, what learn Torah? I don't understand what I'm reading. I hardly know how to read. I'm not even learning Torah. I'm learning everything wrong. I don't know what's left and what's right. שהרי לימוד התורה שלו אינו אלא בשעות שאינם לא יום ולא לילה. He can only learn not during the day, not during the night. Why is he learning? No, he has to go to school, he has to go to work. In other words, he's learning in times that is the worst time to learn, in order to not don't catch him. ויקחו ממנו את הילד. And if they do catch him, they take his kids away. וישלחו אותו. They send him to jail or to death. והלימוד הוא בו באופן שאין ספר. And how does he learn? Not from a book. He cannot have a book. Because if they find a book by him, he's back in jail. אין מלמד. He doesn't have a teacher. Because where's the teacher? He's already in jail. He's already gone. אין ישיבה. There's no yeshiva. אין שום דבר. There's nothing. ובמילא מובן. איזה תורה זה? This is Torah. This is called learning Torah. על תורה כזה אפשר לומר שהיא תורה יפה. This is a beautiful Torah. That's nothing. That's not a beautiful Torah. הוא מוכרח לומר את האמת. He is forced to say the truth. I'm not learning not because of charm. I'm not learning not because of beauty. וכששואלים אותו, כיוון שאינך רואה בזה יופי ואינך רואה בזה חן, since you don't see beauty, you don't see charm, למה אתה מוסר שלך? Why are you willing to die? So why are you doing it? What, are you crazy? משיב says, I don't know why. I don't know why. That's his answer. I don't know why. And I don't care why. Not only I don't know why, I don't care why. It says, God wants me to do it, and that's why I'm doing it. That's why. No, I don't know. I can't give you this. It doesn't make sense even to me. And on this it says, Isha irat Hashem hi titalal. A person who learned Torah because of this reason, now this is praiseworthy. All the other guys, good, it's learning Torah, but it's not praiseworthy. Of course they're learning Torah. This guy, he doesn't find it charming, he doesn't find it beautiful, he's getting killed for it, and he's learned Torah. That's what the Gamora says. This is the charming way to be a woman of God. This is the charm. This is the praise, woman of God.
They fear Hashem more than the government.
That's right. ובהקדים שלכאורה הוא צריך לסיים הפסוק שאישה יראת השם היא עניין של המת. All you have to say that the woman who fears God is truthful. והיינו שאינו שקר או הבל. Over here you can see the truthful that it stays forever. אלא זוהי מציאות של ממשות, תוקף וחיזוק. You can see that it's strong. ואילו כאן נאמר בניגוד לשקר והבל, but over here it says not that it's not שקר, not that it's not hevel. It says that's praiseworthy. What does that mean, that's praiseworthy? It's halal. So it says, what's the connection between praiseworthy to futility and to lies? It should say it is truth. If this is sheker, this is truth. Not if this is sheker, if this is lies, this is praised. The opposite of lies is truth. ובכן, הפירוש דתתהלל בפשטות הוא שאחרים מהללים אותה. What does it mean that she will be praised? It means that not this God is praising her. It means that other people are praising her. So let's look at our case. אפילו אם נניח שהחשבון שעושה בנוגע לימוד תורה שלו היה חשבון אמיתי. Even that person in Russia that we just discussed, the calculation that he's doing when he's learning Torah is a true calculation. שכיוון שאינו יכול ללמוד בישיבה גדולה, is looking, you know what, it is worth for me to die if I can go to yeshiva. But I'm not going to yeshiva. I'm not sitting in yeshiva. I'm learning from a guy who doesn't know what he's talking about half the time. I don't see the beauty. I cannot not understand what I'm learning. ולא יכול להיות אצלו דיבוק חברים. And not only that, I cannot learn with a partner. Because if I learn with a partner and others too, and if they catch him, they're going to catch me. I can't even do that. ואינו יכול לחזור על לימודו בקול גדול. Not only that, I can't even say it out loud what I'm reading. כיוון שמתיירא שאם רק יגביה קולו מעט, יישמעו בחצר שהוא לומד תורה. A person is going to hear that he's learning Torah, and then they will take for him the books, and then they will take his teacher away, and kill his teacher, and so on and so on. And therefore, even that has to learn quietly. So he says, איזה ערך יכול להיות כבר ללימוד כזה? At least if you learn Torah. It says, I'm not even learning Torah. What kind of value does it have? אף על פי כן, nevertheless, you know what we say to him? שלא זו בלבד שזו לא מיל אמיתי. Not only that this is the right way, the אמת way, the truth way to learn Torah, but it's furthermore, שכל אלה שמסביבו מעלים אותו זה. Everybody else is praising him for that. I'll tell you what happened. In the 1970s, a few groups of Russians were able to get out. And the kids came over to America. And you had 15 years old, 16 years old, that they were learning this way Torah in Russia. They came over to America and they realized that they're 20 years behind everybody else in their learning. And they felt very, 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 very bad about themselves. And over here, the Rebbe is telling them, it's the opposite. You don't have to feel bad about yourself. You should know that this is the praiseworthy way to learn Torah. Not only for you, it says everybody else, their learning Torah is beauty, is chen. Your learning Torah is the only truthful way of learning Torah. Not only that, everybody is praising you for that learning of Torah. לימוד התורה שלו פעל לא רק עליו. It says you learn Torah and it didn't only did something for you. אלא משפיע גם על אחרים. Now everybody else is learning Torah in a different manner because of you. שמעללים אותו על זה שהחדיר בהם את ההכרה אודות מהותה של התורה. You see, we have in this generation, the Rebbe says, let's take, the Rebbe says, I'm just saying, the Rebbe could say about himself, I'm someone from the generation of Moshe, right? Mm-hmm. In other words, I learn Torah because I'm inspired by God. Then you have the yeshiva bachers that learn Torah over here. They learn Torah because it's beautiful. They can see the beauty in it. It says, you know what you did by you learning Torah, Russia the right way? Right now, you showed us how we have to learn Torah. Now the Rebbe says, I know how to learn Torah. The yeshiva bachers, the regular yeshiva, they know how to learn Torah because of whom? People like you. You are the one who taught us. שגם במעמד ומצב שאינו יכול לצפות לשכר בעולם הזה וגם לעולם הבא, even though there's not going to be reward when you're in Russia and you're doing the right thing, you didn't expect a reward, you expected to be killed, not a reward, the opposite. אף על פי כן, כשיש לו רגע שיכול ללמוד דבר השם, when you have 1 second you can learn some Torah, even though it's not really learning, it's one word over here, one word over there, whatever you can understand. הנה בשביל זה כדאי לו למסור נפשו ונפשו ברמתו. You were willing to die, not only yourself, your family members also. You were willing to do it. ומובן שכאשר פלוני מעלל אותו על זה, and it says when an individual praises you on such a behavior, הרי זה פועל עליו, שבהיותו במעמד ומצב שאינו זקוק למסירות נפש, בוודאי תהיה אצלו אהבת התורה. So now that you came to America, when you don't need this מסירות נפש in order to learn Torah, so now, כתוצאה מזה, but he says, don't forget, even now when you learn Torah, out of beauty, or maybe even out of chen, don't forget that the real way to learn Torah is the way you learned it well when you were in Russia. ומזה מובן הנוסף, from here we're going to learn something else. לימוד התורה בדורם של משה ויהושע, או בדורו של חלקם את עצמם, יכול להיות באופן ששקר החן והבל היופי. When they learned Torah in the time of Yoshua or the time of Moshe, that was the lie of charm and the futility of beauty. והתיקון והשלימות כביכול בזה היא. So how do you fix it? על ידי לימוד התורה בדור שנמצא במצור בשביה. It is the people who were learning Torah. How? Where? In the times of oppression, in the time you were not allowed to learn Torah, in the time that there was no charm and no beauty, and the only reason they learn Torah is why? Only because of fear of God. God told me, that's why I'm learning Torah. That's why it's not only you're helping people in this generation, you go back and retrospectively help all those generations from beforehand. שכל הדורות מעלילים אותו. Moshe is praising you. Yoshua is praising you. All the sages in all the good times that saw the beauty. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai that sees the chen. He's looking at you and you know what he's saying? He's saying, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, he's saying, this is the right way to learn Torah. Right here, right now. Not the way I'm learning Torah, the way he's learning Torah. Isha Yirat Hashem, a woman, a person, a Jew, who is fearing God, that's praiseworthy. והיינו שכאשר רואים שהוא במעמד ומצב דאישה יראת השם, when all the other people see that this person has fear of God, שלומד תורה מבלי היבט על כך שאינו רואה לא חן ולא יופי. He learns Torah, he doesn't care there's no charm, he doesn't care there's no beauty. הרי זה פועל וחיזוק והילול גם בלימוד התורה בדורו של חלקי המלך יהודה. It causes also the people who learn out of chen, out of beauty, it teaches them. They're praising him, says, now we know how we are supposed to learn Torah. Even to the generation of Moshe Rabbeinu. They are learning. This is why it says that Moshe Rabbeinu looked at our generation and he says, I wish I was them. Because I don't know how I would behave in that circumstances. And I'm learning how to learn Torah from which generation? From our generation.